Well, hello there. So, before I go anywhere, or before I start anything, the mandatory, this stream is intended for mature audiences only and not suitable for anyone under the age of 18 or anyone with a sensitive disposition. You have been warned, so don't come crying to me if you watch this in a week's time on YouTube and decide that you didn't like it. You were warned. But yes, viewer, I've got my mic in the wrong way. I switched it off when I was I switched the mic off and I was turning it round. Oh my god. Right, so let's try that again, shall we? Heck, I don't. Right, so this is going to be the last Scottish murder story in a wee while. My camera's a bit low. I'm gonna I've got a Scottish ghost story next week, and then I'm going to be moving further afield. But like I said, this is my last Scottish murder story, and I have saved the best for last. This one's a doozy. Everybody knows this one, right? It's for the early 19th century. Hollywood made a movie about these guys, starring Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis. And the killers in question even have a lap dancing club named after them in Edinburgh. You know you've made it when you get... Sorry, my hair is really annoying me. When you get a lap dancing club named after you, okay? That's when you know you've made it. I'm, of course, talking about the notorious grave robbers and turned murderers, William Burke and William Hare. Wouldn't it be a Scottish murder series if I didn't include Burke and Hare? So, William Burke was born 1792 in Urney, County Tyrone, Ireland. Born to middle-class parents, Burke and his brother Constantine had a comfortable upbringing. Both brothers enlisted in the British Army as teenagers. Burke served in the Donegal militia until he met and married a woman from County Mayo, where the newlyweds settled. The marriage was short-lived, however, and in 1818, after an argument with his father-in-law over land ownership, Burke left his wife and family behind and moved to bonnie Scotland. Of course he did. At that time, a lot of Irish immigrants were moving to the mainland. They were coming here to settle Scotland mainly. But they also, a lot of them did venture further down south. So now, Burke got a job as a labourer working in the Union Canal and settled in the small Falkirk town of Maddiston. There he met his second wife, Helen McDougall, whom he nicknamed Nellie. After a few years, the canal work dried up, and in November of 1827, the couple moved to Tanner's Close, Edinburgh. To make a living, the couple became hawkers, which was basically selling second-hand clothes to poorer people in the area. Burke retrained and became a cobbler, a trade that he actually became rather successful in, earning upwards of £1 a week, which, let's be real for a moment, right? To us, not a lot of money. £1 a week, I'll get you about a scratch card, a couple of pints of milk. But back then, it was a good wage. He became known locally as an industrious and good-humoured man who often entertained his clients by singing and dancing to them on their doorsteps while plying his trade. Although being raised Roman Catholic, which again coming from the Emerald Isle is quite normal, Burke became a regular worshipper at Presbyterian meetings at Grassmarket and was seldom seen without his Bible. Now, for those that don't know, Grassmarket is it's an area in Edinburgh, and it was rather a downtrodden area at the town, Cowgate and Grassmarket area. Now all the original buildings are still there. It's beautiful, but it's quite an up and coming. What's the best way to describe it without insulting anybody? It's quite a hipster place to hang out. A lot of wee niche bistros and coffee shops and next few restaurants. Quite a few nice nightclubs and not so nice nightclubs there as well. Now, William Hare was thought to be born in County Armagh, County Londonderry, or in Newry. His age and year of birth are unknown. But when he was arrested in 1928, he gave his age as 21. However, sources say he was born between 1792 and 1804, putting him slightly older than what he claimed. So he was maybe 25, 26. Not much is known about his early life, although it is possible that he worked in Ireland as an agricultural labourer before travelling to Britain. He worked in the Union Canal for 7 years before moving to Edinburgh in the mid-1820s. I keep going to say 19. Where he worked as a coalman's assistant. He lived at Tanner's Close in a house of a man named Logue and his wife Margaret Laird. When Logue died in 1826, Hare may have married Margaret. Hare is described as illiterate and uncouth, a lean, argumentative, violent and amoral man, with scars from old wounds on his head and brow. Margaret, legit, who was also an Irish immigrant, is described as an unattractive woman of ill repute. That's putting it politely, okay, because what I read, didn't paint a pretty picture of her. So to say that she was an unattractive woman of ill repute is probably the nicest thing that's been said about this woman in centuries. My cigarette keeps going out. In 1827, Burke and MacDougall went to work in Pennycook, where they met Hare. And despite being complete... I love that chicken sound alert, I really do. So, despite being complete opposites, the men became friends. When Burke and MacDougall returned to Edinburgh, they moved into Hare's Tanner Close lodging house. The two couples soon acquired the reputation for hard drinking and boisterous behaviour. So this lodging house that Hare and his now wife, Margaret, were running was quite the party house, by all accounts. Now, on 29th November 1827, another lodger at the Tanner Close lodging house, Donald, died of dropsy. I had to look into this, by the way, okay? Dropsy is basically retaining fluid in the body. Quick fix these days, but obviously lethal back then. And he died just before his quarterly army pension was due, leaving behind a debt of £4 for rent. Here, obviously annoyed at losing out on his money, complained about the situation to Burke, and the pair formulated a plan to not only get rid of the dead body, but to also get Hare his overdue rent. Now, let's face it, it's pretty obvious that Burke is the brains and Hare is the muscle in this relationship. They decided to sell Donald's body to one of the local anatomists. I've struggled with that fucking word all week and it's in here about a dozen times. I really should have come up with a better word for it. I need to buy a thesaurus, like seriously. So they decided to sell his body to a local anatomist. Why do I keep hitting big words and things when I've got a speech impediment? I speak with a Scottish fecking accent and I have a speech impediment. It's hard enough for you people to understand what I'm saying and I'm going to put in big words. Is Rakapula? I don't know if I've said that right. I might have butchered it, and if I have, I apologise. But hi, welcome aboard. So a carpenter provided the coffin for Donald's burial, which was paid for by the local parish. After the carpenter left, the pair removed the body from the coffin, filled the coffin with bark and resealed it. You know, so it wasn't obviously empty. It's like, they're no stupid men. Well, Burke's no stupid. Here, I'm not so sure about. Hiding the body under a bed. On the day the coffin was taken for burial, the pair took the corpse to Edinburgh University where they looked for someone to buy it. They were looking for Professor Monroe. Remember that name, people. But a student sent them to Professor Robert Knox in Surgeon Square. Knox willingly took the body to use in his classes and paid the sum of £7.10 for it. Hare took £4.50 and Burke got £3.60. I've written that down wrong. That says £3.50. I know math. They two don't add up, so that's a typo. Hare getting the larger share to cover the overdue rent left behind by Donald. Upon leaving the university, students told the pair that they would be happy to see them again, telling them that they would gladly pay for any further bodies that they happened to come across. And so begins the cautionary tale of Burke and Hare. So, information becomes a wee bit sketchy as far as dates go, but we do know that Burke and Hare saw selling the bodies to the university a good way to make some money. Because, owning a lodging house and working an honest job wasn't good enough for these pair. No. They wanted in on the big money. And they knew how to do it. All they needed was some recently deceased bodies. Yeah, no prizes for guessing where this has gone, folks. Yep. The best way to get a fresh corpse is to straight up make it yourself. And so began the killing spree of Burke and Hare. Now, as I said, dates and the order of who died when isn't exact, but I do have a list of the victims, how they died, and how much each poor soul's body was sold for. Because you can write anything online, apart from dates, apparently. So, Joseph was a miller who lived at the lodging house. Suffering from a fever and becoming quite delusional, Hare and his wife were worried that having a potentially infectious person living in the house would be considered bad for business. So, Hare turned again to Burke for assistance. The pair proceeded to get the ill man drunk on whisky, and Hare suffocated him with a pillow while Burke lay across his chest to restrict movement. After Joseph was dead, the pair took his body to Knox, who happily paid £10 this time. It's worth noting that the method of killing Joseph was not only practical, but also rather ingenious, as not only did it get the job done quickly, but the positioning of Burke prevented the chest from expanding in the event that Hare managed to get past the pillar being used by Hare. The method was also practically undetectable by forensics at that time. Now, Abigail Sampson was a salt seller who lived in the nearby village of Gilmerton and was visiting the capital to sell salts to supplement her pension. So she was an older woman. Again, the pair filled her with whisky, suffocated her. Around the same time, an English travelling salesman selling matches and tinder, and no, not the dating app, firewood. Okay, we're talking about firewood, people. Was living at the house, and he became ill with jaundice. And like with Joseph, Hare was concerned about how it would affect his business. So, like Joseph, the unnamed Englishman was suffocated and both bodies were sold to Knox for £10 each. So far they've already made 37. Hey Mum, they've already made £37 odd for these bodies. Wonder how much they spent on whiskey. Wonder if I can offset. Never did find that one out. But imagine there would have been a lot of whiskey bought. Right. Mary Patterson and Janet Brown met Burke in Canongate area of Edinburgh, where he bought them alcohol, invited them back to the lodging house for breakfast. However, instead of going to the lodging house, they went to Burke's brother's, Constantine's house, and after his brother left for work, the three of them continued drinking until Mary passed out at the table. Janet and Burke continued drinking until his wife interrupted them and accused him of having an affair. A fight broke out between the couple, and Burke threw a glass at his wife, cutting her above the eye. Janet claimed that she was unaware that Burke was married and noped her sweet drunk ass out of there. She left. Nope, not getting involved in this. My pal's passed out drunk, your wife just turned up, and now you're battering each other. I'm gone. She ran. She left. Burke's wife left too. But he went to fetch hair. Well, she went to fetch hair and his wife. They arrived quickly, and the men proceeded to lock their wives out of the room and then murder poor Mary as she lay passed out drunk at the table. Right away, the pair took the body to Knox in a tea chest, and for some unknown reason, Burke's wife kept the poor dead woman's clothes. Knox paid the pair £8 for the body, which, by the way, was still warm when they delivered her. One of Knox's assistants asked where they'd got the body, as he was sure he recognised her. Burke said that she had drank herself to death and he had purchased the body from an old woman in the Canongate. Janet Brown, of course, began looking for a friend, but was told that she had left Glasgow with a travelling salesman, when in fact the poor woman was kept in whisky for 3 months before Knox dissected her body. Mrs. Haldane, a stout old woman, lived at the lodging house early to mid-1828. One day she became so drunk she passed out in the stable, and she, like the others before her, was smothered and sold to Knox. Several months later, the woman's daughter, we think her name is Peggy, came to live at the house, and one night Burke alone killed her and sold her body to Knox for the sum of £8. Soon after, another old woman came to live at the house, and again Burke got her drunk and killed her without hair, and sold her body to Knox, this time for £10. These guys are making, pardon the expression, a fucking killing here. Okay? It's a lot of money back then. Next up was Effie, a cinder gatherer who would scavenge through bins for things to sell. Now, Burke already knew Effie, as she had previously sold him some leather scraps for his cobbling business. Burke led her to the stables with the promise of whisky, and when she was drunk enough, he and her killed her, sold the body, and made another £10. Like, seriously. At any point did Knox no stop and think, hold up, where the hell are these two men getting all these fresh bodies? Like, he was an educated man. He must have known something wasn't right. He's bound to have suspected. Or did he just no care? Either way, makes you wonder. Burke found another woman, too drunk to even stand, and was being helped home by a policeman. Yeah. The nerve of this guy. Burke, ever the gentleman, offered to take care of the woman so the constable could go about his business, promising to take her home. And of course he took her back to his place, killed her, and sold her for another £10. You couldn't make this up. No wonder this became a Hollywood movie. Oh my god. Next up are an old woman and her grandson. While the boys sat by the fire in the kitchen, the pair killed the grandmother in her bedroom by their usual means, and then carried the boy to the bedroom and killed him as well. Bodies were sold to Knox for £8 each. So that's 16 quid. It's worth noting though that Hare would later state, I think a better way of doing this, that murder, the murder of the boy, was the one that disturbed him the most, and that he never forgot the look in the boy's face. So he has got a conscience. On 24th of June, Burke and his wife left to visit her father in Falkirk. And at the time, Hare was so bad for money that he had pawned his clothes. But upon returning, Burke noticed that Hare was wearing all new clothes, and when questioned, Hare denied selling any bodies while Burke had been away. However, this proved to be a lie when Knox later confirmed that Hare in fact received £8 for the body of a female. This led to an argument, and Burke and his wife left the lodging house and moved 2 streets over to the lodging house that was owned by his cousin, John Brogan. Thanks for the luck, legit. Really appreciate it. I need to get I don't know what is going on with my Streamlabs right now. That should have gave you a wee message. Oh, I need to fix that. I need work on that at the moment. So, basically, Burke's pissed that Hare killed himself without him, but he's done it several times himself to Hare, and that's allowed. The split between the two men didn't last long. In late September, Hare was visiting Burke when Mrs. Ostler, a washerwoman, came to the property to do the laundry. And the two men did what they did best. They got her drunk, killed her, and sold her body to Knox for £8. A week or so later, one of Burke's wife's cousins, a woman by the name of Anne McDougall, came to visit from Falkirk. And after a few days, the pair killed her and sold her for a tenner. It was at this time that Hare's wife suggested killing Burke's wife, as she was not to be trusted, as she was a Scotch woman. Now remember, Hare, his wife and Burke are Irish immigrants. Burke's wife is Scottish, so Hare's wife doesn't trust her, thinks that she's got to grass them up because she's a Scotch woman. She can't be trusted. Burke refused. So, clearly the wives were in on the money-making scheme that their husbands had gone on. They just, pretend it didn't happen. We've got all this money coming in, we don't need to care where it's coming from. Just turn a blind eye to the fact that our husbands are killing people and selling their bodies. Next victim was a local lad by the name of James Wilson, or Daft Jamie as he was known locally. 18-year-old Jamie was mentally disabled and walked with a limp due to having deformed feet. He lived on the streets and supported himself by begging. Hare lured Jamie to the lodging house with the promise of whisky and sent his wife to fetch Burke. The men led Jamie to a bedroom, and Hare's wife locked the door behind them, pushing the key under the door so the men could unlock it when they were finished. Now, young Jamie was not much of a drinker, as he preferred snuff. Snuff's tobacco. Kinda. It came in a wee box, you put it in your own, you snuffed it as if it was cocaine, but it was actually tobacco. It's still really weird times back then, I don't know. So, he wasn't as drunk as the men's previous victims. And he was also a lot stronger than the men were used to. So he did fight back. But his fight was in vain. And he was overpowered, and like the others before him, killed and sold to Knox. However, many of his students said that they recognised the body. Although Knox claimed it was impossible, word quickly spread of the young lad's disappearance, and Knox dissected the body, quickly removing the head and feet before the main dissection to avoid identification. So he took off his head so that nobody could recognise his face, and he took off his feet because, if you remember, his feet were deformed. Couldn't he have that getting out? The final victim was slain on Halloween 1828 and was Margaret Dougherty. A middle-aged Irish woman. Again, Burke lured her back to his cousin's house by claiming his mother was also named Dougherty from the same area of Ireland, and the pair began drinking. Burke left the woman with his wife, claiming to go for more whiskey, but he was in fact going to fetch hair. The two other lodgers arrived at Brogan's house, a couple by the names of Anne and James Gray. They were paid to stay at Hare's property overnight, claiming that the woman was a relative who would be staying with them. The two couples and the woman started drinking, and at around 9 p.m. the Greys came by the house to collect some of their clothing for their children, and saw the group drinking. Now, Burke and Hare, for some unknown reason, came to blows that evening. But they must have patched things up, because they killed Anne Dougherty and they put her body in a pile of straw at the end of the bed. The next day, the Greys returned home, and Anne became suspicious when Burke would not let her approach her bed to retrieve some of her belongings. She had left a pair of stockings on the bed and wanted to get them, but she was told, no, can't get near it, on you go away. So, when they got the house to themselves, the couple searched the straw pile at the foot of the bed and discovered the body of poor Anne Dougherty. On their way to fetch the police, they ran into Burke's wife, who tried to bribe them with the offer of £10 per week for their silence. An offer which they luckily refused. Where the couple reported what they had found to the police, Burke and Hare removed the body and sold it to Knox. Yeah, it's gone good, legit. I've just been working away in this. How's your day been? When questioned... Oh, no, wait. I missed one. Oh. Yeah, I'm sure you do, legit. And thank you for the hydrate. A ferret? Where? Oh! It's my hands. Right, so the police searched the house and found Dougherty's blood-stained clothing. Doesn't surprise me, legit. I love your emotes, man. So they found blood-stained clothing hidden under the bed belonging to Dougherty. When questioned, Burke and his wife claimed that Dougherty had left the house but gave different departure times. Early the following morning, the police went... This left the police suspicious and they were taken in for further questioning. Early the following morning, the police went to the Knox's dissecting room, where they found Dougherty's body. James Gray identified her as the woman seen with Burke and Hare. Hare and his wife Wait, what? Same with Burke and Hare. And their wives. Hare, his wife, and Brogan, the cousin, were all arrested on suspicion of murder. All three denied any knowledge of the events. In total, 16 people were murdered by Burke and Hare in the space of just 10 months. And they're getting roughly about a tenner a body. It's around 60 quid, give or take. You're probably talking about 140, 150 quid, but my God. On 3rd of November, a warrant for the arrest of Burke, Hare and their wives were issued. Brogan, Burke's cousin, was released without charge. 2 forensic specialists were appointed. Why have I said her name was Anne? Her name was Margaret. Burke's cousin was released without charge. 2 forensic specialists were appointed, and the cause of death for Margaret Dougherty was listed as probable suffocation, although it could not be proved 100%. Burke and Hare were charged with murder. As part of the investigation, officers spoke to Knox, who said he'd bought the bodies in good faith, believing to be persons who had died at the lodging house that Burke and Hare ran. Although officers knew that Bucky can't sort her paperwork and she needs to put these in separate pulley pockets so they stick together, that Knox wasn't exactly a good man, he hadn't broken any laws in buying the bodies, so he was never charged. The police knew a murder had taken place, and that at least one of the 4 was guilty, but proving it would be very difficult. Police also suspected that there were more victims, but lack of bodies meant that they couldn't prove anything. As word of possible multiple murders spread, newspapers began to publish inaccurate stories of the crimes, leading to the public believing that all missing persons had fell victim to Burke and Hare. Janet Brown, remember her, went to the police office and was able to identify her friend Mary's clothing. When a baker was able to tell them that Burke's nephew had been seen wearing Daft Jamie's trousers, it was enough. And on 19th November, a warrant for the murder of Jamie Wilson was also made against the 4 suspects. So that's 2 murders. But they're trying for 3 because they've got this other woman as well. They've got Mary Patterson, that passed out on the table. They've got her as well. Now, the police knew they needed one of the 4 to confess to the killings in order to secure a conviction, so they turned their attentions to Hare. On the 1st of December, Hare was offered full immunity from prosecution, on the condition he turned King's evidence and provided full details of the murder. And I've got Anne written there too, but her name is Margaret Dougherty. And because a man cannot be forced to give evidence against his wife, Hare's wife would also become exempt from prosecution. So, the police have basically said, the prosecution have basically said to Hare, if you tell us what happened, if you grass up Burke and his wife, you and your wife go free. Yeah, Hare took the offer and he sang his little heart out, giving full details of all the murders the group had committed. On the 4th of December, Burke and his wife were charged with the murders of Jamie Wilson, Margaret Dougherty and Mary Patterson. I keep writing Anne. I don't know why I've kept writing Anne. It was Anne Gray that lived at the lodging house that discovered the body. Margaret, I swear I've got them muddled up, but... Both he and his wife gave evidence during the trial, with his wife holding the couple's baby daughter on the stand. Now, at the time, the infant was suffering from whooping cough, and when questioned, the wife would use the baby's coughing fits as a way to give herself more time to think of an answer that wouldn't incriminate herself. The jury retired to reach a verdict on Christmas Day, 1829 at 8:30 a.m. and returned a mere 50 minutes later. Now, we've said it before in this channel, people, and we will continue saying it. The times back then, how quickly they were able to secure a conviction is amazing. You can't convince a jury to come forward in that quickly nowadays. It can't be done. And it takes months, if not years, to secure a conviction. And back then, they're doing it in a matter of weeks. Amazing. It really is amazing. They delivered a verdict of guilty against Burke and not proven against his wife. So, he's guilty, but basically when it comes to her, we think she did it, but we can't prove it. We're not saying she's not guilty, we're saying we can't prove she's guilty. So, not proven. Burke was sentenced to death. And with the judge telling him, and I said direct quote, "Your body should be publicly dissected and anatomized, and I trust that if it is ever customary to preserve skeletons, yours will be preserved in order that posterity may keep in remembrance your atrocious crimes." Burke's wife was released at the end of the trial, returned home. The following day she went to buy some whiskey, probably to drown her sorrows, because you know her man's in jail. Everybody knows what they did. And was confronted by an angry mob, who were rather pissed off at her not proving verdict. Can't really blame them. 16 people, folks, they're gonna be pissed. She just walked out of court free woman. She was taken to the local police station for her own protection, but the mob overran the station and she had to sneak out a back window. She tried to see her husband, but was refused permission and left Edinburgh the next day. Burke, on the 3rd of January, on the advice of priests, made another full confession, this time placing a lot of the blame on Hare. Jamie's parents and sister protested against Hare's immunity and intended release, but their pleas were rejected. On the 19th of January, Hare's wife was released from prison, travelled to Glasgow to find safe passage back to Ireland. Just while I remember, there's never any other mention of the baby other than when she appeared in court. However, while waiting to board the ship, she was recognised and attacked by a mob, and like Burke's wife, was given shelter at a nearby police station until she was placed on a ship bound for Belfast, never to be seen again. Did she make it? Who knows? Honestly, who cares? Burke was hanged on the 28th of January 1829 in front of a crowd of some 20,000 or more people. His execution was so popular that people in nearby flats would rent their windows to people wanting to watch. Like, how messed up is that? Like, seriously, paying to watch a man hang. On the 1st of February, his body was publicly dissected by Professor Monroe. Remember him? the guy they were originally looking for to sell the bodies to. At Edinburgh University, and again people turned up in their thousands to watch, to the point that a riot nearly occurred. They couldn't fit everybody in. They had to do it in slots of 50, 10 minutes at a time. You can come in and watch us dissect this pair, and then you'll leave, and then another group will come in and watch the next. The full dissection took 2.5 hours because thousands of people wanted to watch, and they had to do it in 10-minute slots. Like, really? No, why would you want to watch that? I don't understand that. I really don't. Burke's skeleton was given to the Anatomical Museum of the Edinburgh Medical School, where it remains to this day. Yeah, no kidding. His skeleton's still hanging in Edinburgh. It is actually still in a cabinet on display in Edinburgh. I shouldn't laugh, okay? I really shouldn't, but yeah, why not? Why not? Hare was released on the 5th of February 1829, having been kept in custody a wee while longer for his own protection. He was assisted in leaving Edinburgh and was shipped to Dumfries. Why? What? Why? Why do all these stories end up with the bad guy being down here? 60 mile down the road. He ended up 60 mile down the road. No. We don't want them. Hell no. He was taken to the town's prison. Oh, no, wait, I've skipped a bit. He was shipped to Dumfries by coach, but a fellow passenger recognised him, as he had represented Jamie's family in their attempts for justice. By the time they arrived at Dumfries, the passenger had told everybody who he was. So he was taken to the town's prison for his own safety. The following day, he was escorted by police out of town and sent in the direction of the English border. On you go. Your English border's that way. On you go. And that was the last way he was heard of. So we'll never know if he ever even made it out of Scotland safety, and let's hope he did not. To be fair, let's hope this man never made it out. Even before killing people, he was a monster. Knox refused to make any public statement regarding the events, and although the public wanted him held accountable for his actions, he was cleared of any wrongdoing by an inquiry. However, he did resign his position. He left Edinburgh in 1842 and began lecturing around Britain and mainland Europe. While working in London, he fell foul of the rules of the Royal College of Surgeons and was banned from lecturing. He was removed from the role of Fellows of the Royal Society in Edinburgh in 1846, and I have absolutely no idea what any of that means, but I'm assuming he's been up there and he's been knocked down by all his peers. I'm going back 300 years. From 1856, he worked as a pathological anatomist at the Brompton Cancer Hospital and had a medical practice until he died in 1962. So he went on with his life. Lost a couple of pensions, but he continued to practice medicine and went about his life quite happy. Now, the big question that I guess a lot of people that hear this story will be left wondering is how on earth do you transport dead bodies around the busy Edinburgh Cowgate area? Yeah, it's busy, it's heavily populated, in broad daylight without ever being seen. Honestly, the answer's simple. You don't. Apart from the bodies of the old woman and her grandson, yeah, really is a simple answer. You don't dare. Apart from the old woman and her grandson, who were transported, because there was two of them, via horse and carriage, which proved problematic, by the way, because the horse stopped it just stopped walking, refused to go any further, so he took him home and shot it dead, because the horse wouldn't go any further. He shot it dead in the stable. So that didn't work. But none of the bodies were taken through the streets. Anyone who knows Edinburgh in the Cowgate area knows that on Nidri Street... Oh, I'm very well, thank you, legit. How are you? I actually put my pants there. Oh my god. You got me. No, but anyone that knows Edinburgh in the Cowgate area knows that on Nidri Street... I know. At the bottom of the Cowgate, up a small lane, it's a very unusual nightclub type building that stands 3 floors tall and is the entrance to an elaborate underground cave system that runs under the Cowgate and the Royal Mile. And it was these caves that Burke and Hare used to transport the bodies of their victims during the day without being seen. Now, many of you might know, me and Ginge, we used to work as bouncers at Edinburgh. I've actually never been to Leeds. But yeah, as many of you might know, me and Ginge used to work as bouncers. And towards the end of my career, we used to work in Edinburgh. Okay, Leeds, Cardiff, are you trying to guess where I'm from? Because I'm just outside Glasgow. And I'm talking about Edinburgh. Now, like I said, towards the end of our career, we worked in Edinburgh. And we regularly worked at a very unusual venue on Nidri Street called The Caves. And as the name suggests, the main area in the venue is a giant cave. And behind the main areas are little entrances that are covered by heavy wrought iron gates that take you directly into the caves that were used by Burke and Hare. There's even an entrance in the ladies' toilets. I'm not even joking. When you walk into the ladies' toilets in the caves on Nidri Street, you've got 2 cubicles and then you've got a big wrought iron gate right beside. I'm talking about Edinburgh. There's an elaborate underground cave system there. Now, it is a beautiful place, right? The caves. It's beautiful. It's hired out for weddings, private parties, as well as theme nights, including adult only events. I'm not even joking. There are some really. It's listed as an unusual venue, and there's a lot of them throughout Britain. They're underneath the Edinburgh, the original city centre of Edinburgh. It's actually listed in the unusual venues, and you can hire it out for weddings, for birthday parties, for bar mitzvahs. It's it's beautiful. It really is. Thank you, Mr. Modman. But as beautiful as the building is, even I've got to admit that it is creepy. It's got a weird vibe about it. I've never had a bad night there. In fact, I've got plenty of fond memories of the place. Ginger will back me up in this. We've had some amazing nights working the caves. Some really messed up amazing nights, but some amazing nights working the caves. We've never had a bad memory, but there is just this air about the place. It's thanks. It's a beautiful place, but there's just something in the air. I don't know. It's weird. And like I said, Ginge can back me up on this because he's been there plenty of times too. But if you stand at the entrance, many people have reported this. You stand at the entrance and you look towards the main cave area, and it's a giant cave that goes all the way back, and there's a stage at the bottom. And because obviously they do a lot of events in there that require live music, and the acoustics are amazing, by the way. Just don't ever expect a cell reception. You cannot get cell reception the minute you enter the building. If you don't have Wi-Fi password, you're cut off. I've still got the Wi-Fi password and on the codes to get through the doors, but that's beside the point. There's no cell reception whatsoever. But if you stand in and you look up above the stage, people have actually reported seeing a woman in a white dress just standing up there, and it is so surreal. It's really unusual, and I've got to admit I've seen her there too, and I've never had a drink at the caves. It is a venue that sells alcohol, but I've only ever been there working, because I can never get tickets to the event that I want. Maybe one day. So, yeah, I've seen her. I saw her during the... Actually, I'm not going to get into the event, no, because there's a whole confidentiality thing, so I can't disclose what event it was that I saw it, but I did see her at a particular event there, and she was watching... Well, she probably didn't care what she was watching, because to be honest with you, I didn't even care what half the stuff I was watching there was, but that's another matter altogether. But yeah, she was up there watching. It's weird. So, if you're ever in Edinburgh, you ever get the chance, be sure to visit Nidri Street and the caves, and maybe even sign up for a ghost tour and see inside the caves for yourself. You might even get to see the lady in the white dress. Yes, you can actually go inside. There's a ghost tour. It runs all year round. and in particular I think it runs 3 or 4 times a day during the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. If you're ever in Edinburgh, I really, really suggest going and checking it out. It's an amazing, amazing place. So that's how Burke and Hare managed to transport the bodies without being seen. They never took them outside until they were there because of that elaborate cave. I'd been working there for about 6 months before I realised that's what that was. That was... Actually, I remember... Gone off script. But I remember we'd went up to Edinburgh to work for the weekend and we were booked into a hotel and we were getting ready. It was a Friday night and we were getting ready to go to work. We'd just been for a nice meal at an Argentinian steakhouse and we were getting ready, getting all suited and booted, getting ready to go to the caves to work, and Forgotten Scotland came on the TV in the hotel room, and they were talking about fantastic places to visit in the capital, and they started talking about the caves, and we're like, oh, we're walking the other night, that's our door. And then they started telling us about Burke and Hare using the place to transport their victims. And it was like, okay, right. So, I think at one point I'm going to get into the caves a lot further because there's a lot more than just Burke and Hare using that place. I mean, there's a lot of history. Thank you, Mr. Modman. There's a lot of history in the caves, and I do want to go into it at one point, but that ends the tale of William Burke and William Hare, the two Irish immigrants that moved to Scotland and started grave robbing and murdering people and turn that into a profitable business. Yeah. So, yeah, that is the last Scottish horror murder story that I'm going to be doing for a wee while, because, well, to be honest with you, trying to find new material, we're only a tiny little country, okay, our history is vast, but trying to find material, it's no easy, and there are still stories I want to do, but I want to do them at the right time. So next week I've got a ghost story that I've been asked to do a ghost story, and there's someone asked me to do a ghost story, and someone else asked me to do it about a castle near where we live. So I'm going to combine the two and do that next week, and then I'm looking for ideas. I need obscure murders that have happened anywhere. I can research anything. Like I said, I want to do some more research into the caves, because the caves, it is an unusual venue, and the fact that people are getting married. I know someone that get married there, okay? Me and Ginge, we know someone that get married there. But it just, I don't know. I mean, like I said, they do all sorts of venues. They do all sorts there, events there, and it is really unusual, but there is a hell of a lot of history there. mean, Burke and Hare are not the only ones to take dead bodies through there, not a chance. So, and I want to know where the lady in white came from. The lady in the white dress. She wasn't a Burke and Hare victim. They never killed anybody in the caves. They just moved the people through there. So I'm thinking she might be further back. So I'm going to kind of look into that. Now, obviously, were we John Gloucester, a pathologist that we've keep bumping into in these stories? He obviously didn't appear tonight because it's before his time. But I've been doing a bit of research about him, and I want to go into that. So that's coming up as well. But yeah, seriously, Mr. Morgan, can you post the Discord link? Because I don't know if my commands just are not working at all. But hit me up on here, hit me up on Twitter, on Discord, on Insta. If you've got me on Facebook, I don't know if the commands are working. I need to fix them. Hit me up, give me ideas, because I'm running out of story material. And I'm enjoying doing these, and they seem to be going done well. I seem to be proving quite popular on YouTube as well, which is always good. So, yeah, if you've got a story local to you that you want me to look into, or something that's piqued your interest that you would like to find out more about, then let me know. I'm on all socials, and it's Buckybird across the board. Now I'm going to do some... Thank you, Mr. Modman. There's the link to the Discord. Feel free to jump in. That's a Ginger and me. I've got my own section in there purely for these stories. So feel free to hit me up in there. But I'm going to leave it there for this evening. Because that was 9 smegging pages, okay? So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for this evening, and I'm probably going to go and eat crap food and watch something on TV, I don't know. But I'll be back next Sunday with a local ghost story. So be sure to check that out. Ginger's on tomorrow evening. I need to do this because he can't. Let me tell if I clicked on there. Why is that capitals? What the? Oh my god! I really suck at this. There we go. Wait, done it. So, my shout out better be working. No, none of my commands are working. This is fucking great. Right, so, Ginger Minnie will be back tomorrow. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. Seems that way, legit. So, Ginger will be back tomorrow. I'll be back on Tuesday for... I don't know. Might try something different, I don't know. Because we're kind of running out of things to do in Fortnite. But I'll be back next Sunday with another Scotland the Graves, talking about a local ghost story that may or may not involve an animal of an unusual colour. You really don't want to miss this one, because I grew up with this story and it is wild. Thank you, Mr. Modman. There's Ginger Minnie's link in the chat. Go check him out. If you're watching this later on, either on Twitch or on YouTube, and Kiddo's just figured out what it is, Your ginger's here, don't worry, legit, he's here. But if you're watching this later on Twitch or on YouTube, do me a favour, check out my other videos, share them with your friends. I'm trying to get this series, trying to get quite a few folk into it, can get it kind of popular. So if you're watching it on YouTube, I can't believe I'm saying this, please hit the like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and drop me a comment to let me know what you think. I can't believe I just done that. But until next time, like I said, I'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, have pleasant dreams, be good to each other, behave yourselves. Legit, no bath salts. But until then, bye bye now.